right. Here's the next part on the lesson on the Age of Enlightenment and Revolution, although we're just focusing on the Enlightenment at the moment. We left off last time talking about what those Enlightenment ideas were. In fact, if I back up a bit, I spent a bit of time talking about this, which is quite important. Like, a lot of the stuff you see up there is considered just normal stuff today, but 300 years ago, these were radical, very edgy ideas. Like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? This is not the way life is supposed to be. And now it is that way because we tried it out, and a lot of this stuff is like, oh, we like it. It seems to work well. Now, we still have problems. When I say problems, there's still things that happen that you could say are not so good with some of the stuff up here. Anyways, I can't go into that too. I'm not going to go into too much right now. I have a lot of stories that just came to my head. I'm just going to pass by that. But for the most part, our world this is now considered normal, whereas 300 years ago, these were considered radical ideas, new ideas, blasphemous, and sometimes blasphemous ideas. Now, if you remember this, we talked about the idea of the encyclopedia last time, but this is essentially where we're starting now. And if you're one of these people that likes to talk about this stuff, likes to talk about, okay, this is what I believe natural rights of man are supposed to be, this is the way religious tolerance should look in a society, or this is where things that don't deserve tolerance, and those arguments happen all the time, what deserves and what doesn't deserve tolerance. You're just called a philosopher. That's a French term for philosopher. If you like to talk about this stuff, if you like to really get into it, if you like to write articles on this, you're a philosopher. Now, of course, there's everybody in some cases likes to be. It's fun to philosophize, but man, you can really get in the weeds of this stuff. But we're going to be getting into a lot of these people either in this lesson or the next. We'll see. I got a feeling this one might go a little bit longer, so I'll have to break it into even more parts than just two. But if you're one of these people who like to talk about this, well, in a lot of countries, you could get in big trouble for talking about this stuff, even just talking about the idea of like natural rights of man, but definitely talking about, hey, let's try a new government. I'll get you in trouble by the powers that be. Kings and queens don't like that talk. So a lot of times people would just say, hey, you know what? If you like talking about this stuff, just come on over to my house. We'll talk. We'll sit and talk for a little bit. Come to my salon, front room, living room, however you want to put it. And we'll sit and talk. And all of a sudden you get certain areas that became more popular than others. Now, if you look at that picture on the top, that's, if I'm getting this right, a famous salon from Madame de Pompadour. An incredibly smart French lady who had tons of people, very famous people, and historically famous people come over and just have arguments in her room, in her front room, essentially. But this became a big deal. Also notice that, most of these people that are talking about this stuff are well-to-do. This isn't just your average Joe Schmo on the street type thing. They don't have the time to talk about these things. So most of these Enlightenment ideas were ideas that came from more established and well-to-do people. But they'd come and talk about it. They knew that they couldn't have these things be too out in the open, or the king might come down on you, might come knock on your door with their guards. But over 100 years or so, it became fashionable to do this. And it wasn't as, kings and queens didn't try to shut it down as much here and there. And they would. There were many philosophers that were jailed for things that they said if it just got too out of reach. But this became kind of like just the cool thing to do. Go talk about your ideas here. And also people started realizing, hey, if you're wondering why I have the picture of Chili's down there, it's because this is kind of how that starts. It's like, hey, I just realized that if I have people come to the front room and then the guy down the street does too, but I want people to come to mine more, what can I do to entice them to come? It's like, hey, well, I'm going to have nice music in the background. Hey, I'm going to have nice pictures in the background like you see in that top picture there. Nice paintings in the background. I'm going to serve hors d'oeuvres. Oh, we're going to have like new desserts and things like that. And so people can have these nice delicacies and enjoy the pleasures of life while they're discussing this stuff, instead of going down to Joe Schmo's place down the street where, it's just a bland room. And so if you were to go into it, like, this still happens today. Like, they're called salons back then. And then it's basically restaurants and bars today. People, like, the last time you went to a restaurant like this, like Chili's or an Applebee's or well, any type of sit-down restaurant, essentially, think about the things you hear around you. People are talking about their lives. People are talking about new ideas they want to try out, what they like, what they dislike. Of course, you got the idea of like sports in the background, but then people are critiquing what's going on. They're like, oh, they should have done this. Politics is definitely coming up. Oh man, Trump was awesome. I hate Trump. He's evil. Blah blah blah. Or Obama, however you want to go into. These are essentially what salons were like. Essentially you're talking about what is going to make life around me better, or what's making it, or what's keeping it from being good, or how am I going to make my life better, and what needs to happen for my life. Like, these are enlightened type of topics that we do all the time. Heck, if we were in school, you hear it all the time in the hallways, just between conversations and friends. We consider that to be normal today, but that's something that kings and queens didn't like very much during the age of absolutism, going into this age of enlightenment, by the way, happening at the same time, essentially. Age of enlightenment and age of absolutism, that is. So the hopefully I made that connection and just how that's still going on today and why I have that picture of Chili's there. But yeah, now I do need to just put this in a little bit just because I find it pretty hilarious. The only time we hear the word salon anymore today is like a hair salon. And yes, that was an idea from the past where I was like, hey, come into my salon and I'll make your hair really nice. And you can get your hair done and talk about religion and talk about politics and talk about governance and things like that with the person next to you getting their hair done, or with your hairdresser. Why I say this is hilarious is if any of you are thinking of going into that profession, one of the first things you learn as a hairdresser is that the two topics to stay away from at all costs with your customers is religion and politics. Just don't talk about that. It causes too many issues. But that's how it actually started in the first place. That's why it was called a hair salon in the first place, pretty much. So, anyways, I find that a bit funny. All right, now to show you a little bit of difference from the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. I said earlier that the Enlightenment is something that comes from the Renaissance, yes. But if the picture on the left is a Renaissance painting, amazing painting, really well done. Definitely see a lot of the humanistic ideas, that is, but it's still a religious painting. Most of the Renaissance paintings were religious, and that is the Mother Mary with baby Jesus in a very kind of celestial type of atmosphere. God-like, the kingdom of heaven, throne of heaven type thing there. Then you look at the picture on the right-hand side, and there's nothing religious about it. And as we're getting into this thought process, like, hey, let's even focus more on day-to-day stuff, reason, science over religion, science over superstition type stuff. So even the artwork is displaying this. I said this during the Renaissance. Art displays a lot of the thought process of people. I'm not big into art myself, but it is something to recognize. Like some little thing that usually would be done there by the painters, the painter would put a necklace with a cross on it around the girl's neck or the guy's neck, either or. But in this case, no. This is just the idea that, hey, this is just looking at a moment in life where I'm just taking a stroll with my boyfriend, girlfriend, and our dog out in the park, and it's just nice. Almost like the beginning of, well, this is probably not the best connection, but the beginning of like all our photograph type of atmosphere today, or selfie type of culture we have today. And it's like, it's me. It's just a moment in time. Who cares? Doesn't need to be religious. So, anyways. Now, this is going to bring us into one of the most important things to talk about, if not the most important thing to talk about for this entire unit. So, if you notice right there, I just said what it says there, one of the more important ideas we get from the Enlightenment is the idea of the social contract. I'm pretty sure most of you have not heard the social contract before, or at least understand it. This is something maybe you've heard, but just in one ear, out the other one, just because it seems ephemeral. It doesn't feel like you can touch it. And I'll try to do my best to explain this. But that meme that I found, which I laughed a bit when I found it, but it's very true. Social contract. No, you don't actually sign it, but little do you know, you've been following it all along. Because we do. Basically, This is the best. Like, I drew that graph up, by the way, or that thing up in Microsoft Paint to try to give you the best way I could to explain what the social contract is. So first off, let me read off what's off to the side, because I feel like I do an all right job explaining this all right. The social contract is a term that refers to the idea that we give up some of our individual sovereignty, meaning our choice, my personal choices. You know, what do I want in life? What do I want to do in this moment? That we give a bit of that up, or a lot of it up, in order to create a peaceful society through rule of law. Because in many cases, laws take away our choice. Well, I want to drive 80 miles per hour. I want to drive 120 miles per hour. If my car can do that, I want to drive 120 miles per hour. I should have that choice. Nope, there's a law that says that you're not allowed to make that choice. And if you do, there's a punishment to it. Like, if you get caught going 120 miles per hour today on the interstate, that's just not a speeding ticket. That's jail time. So essentially, that's inhibiting that right of choice that I have, and like how fast I want to drive. Hopefully that's an all right example to give you that idea there. But this is the concept of the social contract. How many choices are you willing to give up in your life in return for a peaceful society? And I'm not going to go into this a bunch right now. I might a little bit later. But if this whole situation with COVID-19 just came into your mind right now, wondering if that, then your mind went to the right spot. All the things that have been happening recently with the virus and the extra, you could say, restrictions on society at large in the United States is a whole huge social contract issue. And we're just seeing people now saying, hey, what about personal liberties? What's going on? And we understand the idea of need for safety, but how many choices do we really have to give up? That is essentially the social contract. Again, can get into that more later. Let's focus on that chart off to the right here. Hopefully you're seeing my little pointer. I probably should be using a different pointer. So, and hopefully you can read this as well. It's a little bit small. I apologize for that. Social contract line is just this nice big black line here. At the far right end of the line is this idea of complete individual freedom. Just complete. So, meaning that the further that this little thing goes, like, this isn't stationary. This moves back and forth. Think of it like a slider that you can move back and forth. The closer the slider gets over here, the closer it's saying that you live in a society where you can have all the choices you want. Yeah, like, it is your personal choice over all that stuff. But the closer the slider gets to this side is essentially saying, nope, we have tons of laws in place. You cannot make those choices for yourself because people cannot be trusted with those choices. And so therefore we have laws and punishments in place saying you can't do that. And we're giving total control to the government so that they can provide the people a peaceful society. And if you're noticing, this is kind of a tough thing. In fact, this is getting back to what I said at the beginning of this, the last lesson that I did, that explains a bit, that where I'm trying to explain a bit of your life as an American. The main question of the beginning of the United States was, how many liberties do we need to ensure, and how many liberties are the ones that, okay, maybe we can give up? Essentially, what should the social contract be as an American? And when we say things like, we're thankful we live in a free society, I hope that's telling you that we're moving that slider this way as far as we can. Giving more choices to each individual, you and me. Now, was that very different from, say, the 1780s and the 1790s all the way to today? Yeah. In fact, back then, that slider was more over here. Today, that slider is more over here. Over time, we've been giving up more and more of our stuff. For instance, when you get paid, all those taxes that come out, that's the government saying, we need that to ensure a more peaceful society. You do not get to choose whether or not you give us that money. That is not your choice. It's not your choice if you want to pay into Social Security. You have to. It is not your choice to pay your income tax. You have to. Or there's punishments if you don't. So hopefully that's a good example, but there you go with the social contract. Now, the part that gets confusing is, I shouldn't say confused. Let me back up a minute. I've seen this confuse some people, but that's why I put the colors here. The more the slider goes over here towards freedom, that means that all the area behind it essentially is the idea of all the choices you have. So that's why if the social contract is right here, all of this is essentially choices that we have in our own life. All of this are choices that we don't have. So the red represents choices that we don't have. Blue represents choices that we do have. Now, if you're in your mind, you're saying, well, what choices are those? All I can do is give you examples that I have already given you a little bit here and there. Just know that's just the idea, like, this is how much you have control of your life. This is how much you really don't have control of your life, or you're not allowed to. Hopefully that's making sense. But this is a big deal. Every country has this. Now, throughout time, moving on here, throughout time, the social contract has been very fluid, where this could move up and down, usually at the whim of the king or the queen. Like, yes, you go ahead and do what you want. No, you can't. Hopefully you saw my pointer there a little bit. Yeah, I'll let that go. I'm not going to deal with that. Oh, kill them. So, now, I just made that sound really bad in the idea of like it's bad to have this go this way, and it is very bad to have it go all the way to the left according to our ideas and our morals and values as Americans today. But it is understood there's some things that probably don't want to leave up to us. For instance, if I want to, I really want my neighbor's car, do I have the right to go just take it because I want it? Should I have that choice? Well, no. Theft. Right to property. And we'd like the government to come in and arrest me if I was going to do that, if I was going to ruin and make things unsafe that way. So, anyways, I hope I've explained this all right, and you guys are getting this idea of the social contract. It is always there. It's always in the background. How much choice do you really have versus how much choice do you not have? And if I can kind of sum it up a bit, how many times you've ever looked at your parents and said, this isn't fair. I should have a choice here. Let me do what I want. What you're arguing is that you think that the slider within your own family, the social contract with your own family, should be sliding more to the right. So when you say things like that, hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective there. Now, moving on. When you hear people talk about we live in a free society, or what a free society is, that's what the social contract would look like. That slider is way over to that right-hand side there, where in a free society, there's probably very few choices you can't make, and you have a lot more control of your life. And this seems like it's well and good, and it can be. There's just one major hiccup in all of this, in the idea of a free society. If I have more personal liberties to do what I want to do, how do my choices affect other people around me? Like my example earlier, if I want to drive 120 miles per hour down the interstate, will that decision affect the lives of other people around me, especially if I'm not that good of a driver and I get in a wreck and crash into other people? If I choose to have, I don't drink by the way, but if I were to choose to have a drink and go drive, then all of a sudden in my inhibited state, I crash into another car and kill a family. That was no fault of theirs. My choice took their lives away. Those are some things to think about. But if you look at the flip side, it's like if you take away all those choices, what is called a totalitarian society, where the government has complete control over the lives of the people, like you feel enslaved. You feel like you don't really have life. You're just a droid, programmed. You can't make choices for yourself, and therefore you can't be happy. You are not in a happy situation. In a free society, at least, you can be happy, although the choices of others can ruin your happiness a little bit. So you'd have to hope that people hold to the same morals and values of what you consider to be right and wrong, so you can hopefully trust others to make good decisions. That is, by the way, American society. We love the idea of giving as many choices as possible to all of us, and we hope that we can basically live by the same morals and values, live the golden rule, so that we can enjoy that freedom together as best as possible. one of the things I definitely need to explain here is something that I have written up on the board. I have it up all year long at school, and that is that in order for you to be happy as an individual, and actually in order for society to be happy, you have to have two things. I should have explained this in the beginning. Those two things are, you need to feel safe, and you need to feel, and you need personal choice. And if you're noticing from this, what I'm talking about, the social contract there, that's a hard thing to decide on. That's hard to get to. How do you have a safe society and still have personal choice at the same time? Now, the answer I actually just gave you a bit ago is, as long as people agree to and live by the same morals and values, it can work great. But just takes a couple people to ruin that here and there. Like the drunk driver thing that I gave you earlier. So this has been an argument all throughout time. It still is an argument here in the United States of what it is and what it isn't. I'm not going to show it to you now, but I'll actually show you one more chart here that essentially is the social contract of the United States. One of the most ingenious things ever. It is just completely ingenious, and has inspired a lot of other countries to follow suit. Like to say, oh, that's a good thing to have, is the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States essentially guarantees certain rights to make sure that social contract slider, again, this thing right here, does not slide too far this way, that it can't slide too far that way. It ensures that we always have, or we should always have, individual rights. So therefore that we can be more in control of our lives and therefore more happy, while still ensuring a sense of safety and security, rule of law in place. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit too much into it. I hope that made sense. But just to reiterate one more time, in order to be happy, you have to have both a sense of safety and security, and you have to have as much control of your life, personal choice as possible. It's just, how do you have people live together by giving as much personal choice while still feeling safe? That has always been the big issue. And again, if you're thinking of examples going on with COVID-19 right now, with quarantining and everything like that, good. And honestly, it'd be a great dinner topic with your family. So, just how dinner topic being how COVID-19 has affected the social contract here in the United States. Anyways, I'll actually be showing you the actual social contract of the United States probably in the next lesson. This one's already gone a little bit too long. I apologize. I'll be ending it at this point.